Chapter number 15, ICAI study material questions. Test your understanding. Question number 1. PGC and Associates are statutory auditors of BNPC Limited, a PSU, in power sector. It is engaged in building large-sized thermal power stations to accelerate development of power sector in the country. One of the financial committees of Parliament has decided to examine its physical and financial performance. It has also examined audit findings of C&AC, in respect of which action is yet to be taken by the said PSU. The committee also proposed to include in its report performance of the company in various operational matters, which Financial Committee of Parliament decide deals with the such matter, outline its main function. The said matters are dealt by Committee on Public Undertakings (COPU). The functions of the committee are to examine the reports and accounts of public undertakings, to examine the reports of C&AC on public undertakings, to examine the autonomy and efficiency of public undertakings, and to see whether they are being managed in accordance with the sound business principles and prudent commercial practices, to exercise such other functions vested in the PSC and the Estimates Committee as are not covered above and as may be allocated by the Speaker from time to time. The examination of public enterprises by the committee takes the form of comprehensive appraisal or evaluation of performance of the undertaking. It involves a thorough examination, including evaluation of the policies, programs, and financial working of the undertaking. Next, test your understanding. Question number 2. PS and Associates are statutory auditors of a central government owned company for a particular year. The statutory auditors were required to examine the following areas mandatorily, provide their specific replies, and also their impact on financial statements for that particular year in their audit report. Whether the company has system in place to process all the accounting transactions through IT system. If yes, the implications of the processing of accounting transactions outside IT system on the integrity of the accounts, along with the financial implications, if any, may be stated. Whether there is any restructuring of an existing loan or cases of waiver or write-off of debts, loans, interest, etc., made by a lender to the company due to the company's inability to repay the loan. If yes, the financial impact may be stated. Whether such cases are properly accounted for. Third, whether funds, grants, or subsidy received are receivable for specific schemes from central government or its agencies were properly accounted for or utilized as per its terms and conditions. List the case of deviation. Can you guess likely nature of the such responsibility thrust upon auditors of above PSU? The above areas for which statutory auditors of PSU were required to examine, report, and indicate impact of these matters in financial statements are likely to relate to directions issued by C&AZ to statutory auditors under Section 143 subsection 5 of Companies Act 2013. In terms of Section 143 subsection 5, in case of government company, the C&AZ has the power to direct the auditor the manners in which accounts of the company are required to be audited, and the auditor shall submit audit report which among other things include the directions if any issued by the C&AZ, the action taken thereon, and its impact on the accounts and financial statements of the company. Next, integrated case scenario. SRM and Associates are refreshing up their knowledge on functions of various parliamentary financial committees and on the varied functions and duties of Comptroller and Auditor General of India in relation to audit of government institutions and government companies. They feel that unless they have understood scope of duties of C&AZ, they would not be in a position to do justice to audits and professional work in this area. In the process, they have gone through various materials, both offline and online. The summarized information derived from some of such materials, including website of C&AZ, are stated below. The C&S report for a particular year contained results of the compliance audit of Department of Revenue, direct taxes of the Union government dealing with assessments relating to agriculture income. It included certain observations relating to allowing of claim for exemption of agriculture income without supporting documents. Use of this area by non-agriculturists as a conduit to avoid taxes, etc., in scrutiny assessments performed by the department. The CNAC, in one of its reports to in respect of a state government owned industrial development corporation, pointed out non-adherence of one-time settlement OTS guidelines of state government by the corporation, resulting in acceptance of a below par OTS proposal, thus foregoing recovery of loan amount to 6.87 crores. The said corporation was providing loans to industrial units. Next, annual report of a listed public sector company, which is a mini Ratna PSU, was also gone through. The said company is engaged in providing diversified services to Indian Railways. A state government owned PSU was involved in setting up of a thermal power plant in the state. The CNAZ, in its audit report, pointed out delay in completion of work due to failure to decide on the type of water treatment in the cooling plant on a timely basis. Besides, other reasons leading to delay, like frequent changes in layout and retesting of the soil by the company, were pointed out. Answer the following questions based upon the above information. Based on description provided at para A of the case, which parliamentary financial committees is likely to examine above report of CNDZ and makes its recommendations? Make its recommendations. First one, Estimates Committee, Public Accounts Committee, Committee on Public Undertakings, Committee on Commerce. Answer is Public Accounts Committee. Next, considering the description stated in para B of case, the above audit findings is likely to fall in which areas? Compliance audit, performance audit, proprietary audit, comprehensive audit. Compliance audit. Option A, compliance audit. As regards listed PSU described in para C of the case, which of the following statement is most appropriate? The statutory audit of above PSU is to be conducted by a firm of auditors appointed by the shareholders in AGM. C&AZ cannot give directions to such firm of auditors. However, its office is empowered to conduct a supplementary audit. Second, the statutory audit of above PSU is to be conducted by C&AZ. Third, the statutory audit of above PSU is to be conducted by a firm of auditors appointed by C&AZ. Further, C&AZ can give directions to the firm of auditors. Fourth, the statutory audit of above PSU is to be conducted by a firm of auditors appointed by shareholders in annual general meeting. However, C&AZ can give directions to the firm of auditors. Option C is correct. That is, statutory audit of above PSU is to be conducted by a firm of auditors appointed by C&AZ. Further, C&AZ can give directions to the firm of auditors. Next, considering nature of audit, finding described at para D of the case concerning delays in completion of the work of thermal power plant, the said audit finding is likely to fall in domain of it was pertaining to performance audit. Option B. Next, fifth question. PSU engagements are generally attestation engagements or direct reporting engagements. Which of the following statements is correct in this regard? Performance audits and compliance audits are generally attestation engagements. Second, performance audits and compliance audits are generally direct reporting engagements. Third, performance audit is a direct reporting engagement, whereas compliance audit is an attestation engagement. Fourth, performance audit is an attestation engagement, whereas compliance audit is a direct reporting engagement. Option B is correct. That is, performance audits and compliance audits are generally direct reporting engagements. Test your knowledge. Question number 1. The reports of C&AZ, Comptroller and Auditor General of India, on the audit of PSUs are presented to the Parliament and to various state legislatures to facilitate a proper consideration. Enumerate the contents of audit report presented by C&AZ. Audit report of Comptroller and Auditor General, C&AZ. To facilitate a proper consideration, the reports of the C&AZ on the audit of PSUs are presented to the Parliament in several parts, consisting of the following: introduction, containing a general view of the working results of government companies, deemed government companies, and corporations; results of comprehensive appraisals of selected undertakings conducted by the Audit Board; resume of the company auditors' reports submitted by them under the directions issued by C&AZ, and that of comments on the accounts of government companies; and significant results of audit of undertakings not taken up for appraisal by the Audit Board. For certain specified states, the C&AZ submits a separate audit report, commercial, to the legislature, while for other states or union territories with the legislature, there is a commercial chapter in the main audit report. The state audit reports contains both the results of audit appraisals of performance of selected companies or corporations, as well as important individual instance of financial irregularities, wasteful expenditure, system deficiencies noticed by the statutory auditors, and a general view of the working results of government companies and corporations. Next, test your knowledge question number 2. ABC & Co., a chartered accountant firm, has been appointed by C&AZ for performance audit of a sugar industry. What factors should be considered by ABJ & Co. while planning a performance audit of sugar industry? Following factors to be considered while performing performance audit. First one, understanding the entity or program, define the objectives and scope of the audit. Second, determining audit criteria. Fourth, deciding audit approach. Fifth, developing audit questions. Sixth, assessing audit team skills and whether outside expertise is required. Seventh, preparing audit design matrix. Eighth, establishing timetable and resources. Ninth, intimation of audit program to audit entities. First one, understanding the entities program. It is the starting point for planning individual performance audit. Sources for understanding the entity: documents of the entity, legislative documents, policy documents, academic or special research, past audits, media coverage, special focus groups. Second, defining the objectives and the scope. Third, determining the audit criteria. Fourth, deciding audit approach. Some of the methods which could be used in conducting performance audit includes analysis of the procedures, surveys, case studies, analysis of results, use of existing data, quantitative analysis. Next, developing audit questions. Next, assessing audit team skills and whether outside expertise is required. Preparing audit design matrix ADM. The specimen of design matrix is audit design matrix is given as under audit objective, audit questions, audit criteria, evidence, data collection and analysis method, establishing timetable and resources, intimation of audit program to the audit entities. These are the factors to be considered while performing performance audit. Next, test your knowledge question number 3. Sunlight Limited is a public sector undertaking engaged in production of electricity from solar power. It has commissioned a new project near Goa with a new technology for a cost of 5,750 crores. The project has seen delay in commencement and cost overrun. State the matters that a comprehensive audit of C&AZ may cover in reporting on the performance and efficiency of this project. Comprehensive audit. The C&AZ assists the legislature in reviewing the performance of public undertakings. He conducts an efficiency cum performance audit other than the field which has already been covered either by the internal auditor of the individual concerns or by the professional auditors. He locates the area of weaknesses and extravagance for management's information. The areas covered in comprehensive audit naturally vary from enterprise to enterprise, depending on the nature of the enterprise, its objectives, and operations. The auditors combine aspects of the financial, compliance, and performance audits. All the audit information is used in such a way that a holistic assessment is possible. However, in general, the covered areas are those of investment decisions, project formulation, organizational effectiveness, capacity utilization, management of equipment, plant and machinery, production performance, use of materials, productivity of labor, ideal capacity, cost and prices, materials management, sales and credit control, budgetary and internal control system, etc. Next, test your knowledge question number 4. A performance audit is an objective and systematic examination of evidence for the purpose of providing an independent assessment of the performance of a government organization, program, activity, or function in order to provide information to improve public accountability and facilitate decision making by parties with responsibility to oversee or initiate corrective action. Briefly discuss the issues addressed by performance audits conducted in accordance with the guidelines issued by C&AZ. According to guidelines issued by C&AZ, performance audits usually address the issues of economy, efficiency, and effectiveness. Economy. It is minimizing the cost of resources used for an activity having regard to appropriate quantity, quality, and at the best price. Efficiency. It is the input output ratio. In case of public spending, efficiency is achieved when the output is maximized at the minimum of input or inputs is minimized for any given quantity and quality of output. When the audit objective of efficiency considers outputs, focus is usually on process by which an organization transforms inputs into outputs. Next, third one, effectiveness. It is the extent to which objectives are achieved and the relationship between the intended impact and the actual impact of an activity. Test your knowledge question number 5. BT Limited, a company wholly owned by central government, was disinvested during the previous year, resulting in 40% of the shares being held by public. The shares were also listed on the BSE. Since the shares were listed, all the listing requirements were applicable, including publication of quarterly results, submission of information to the BSE, etc. Sam, the FM of the company, is of the opinion that now the company is subject to stringent control by BSE and the markets. Therefore, the audit requirements of a limited company in private sector under the Companies Act 2013 would be applicable to the company, and the C&AZ will not have any role to play. Comment. Section 2, Clause 45 of the Companies Act 2013 defines a government company. Government company means a company in which not less than 51% of the paid up share capital is held by central government or by any state government or governments, or partly by central government and partly by one or more state governments, and includes a company which is a subsidiary company of such a government company. The auditors of these government companies are firm of chartered accountants appointed by C&AZ, who gives the auditor directions on the manner in which the audit should be conducted by them. The listing of company shares on a stock exchange is irrelevant for this purpose, and hence Sam's opinion is not correct. Next, test your knowledge question number 6. You have been appointed as auditor of ICAI Limited after having determined the audit objectives. Now you have been requested to draft audit criteria. What are the sources that you will use while doing the task? Determining audit criteria. Audit criteria are the standards used to determine whether a program meets or exceeds expectations. It provides a context for understanding the results of the audit. Audit criteria are reasonable and attainable standards of performance against which economy, efficiency, and effectiveness of the programs and activities can be assessed. The audit criteria may be sought to be obtained from the following sources: procedure manuals of the entity, policies, standards, directives, and guidelines, criteria used by the same entity or other entities in similar activities or programs, independent expert opinion and know how, new or established scientific knowledge, and other reliable information, general management and subject matter literature and research papers. Test your knowledge question number 7. C&AZ appointed Verma and Associates, a chartered accountant firm, to conduct performance audit of MAP Limited, a public sector undertaking of Government of India. The firm conducted the audit with a view to check all the expense of the units are in conformity with the public interest and publicly accepted customs. The audit report submitted by audit firm was rejected by C&AG. Give your opinion on the action of C&AG. In the given scenario, C&AG appointed Verma and Associates, a chartered accountant firm, to conduct performance audit of MAP Limited, a PSU of Government of India. The firm conducted audit with a view to check all the expense of the units are in conformity to the public interest and publicly accepted customs, which is not performance audit. A performance audit is an objective and systematic examination of evidence for the purpose of providing an independent assessment of the performance of a government organization, program, activity, or function in order to provide information to improve public accountability and facilitate decision making by parties with responsibility to oversee or initiate corrective action. Performance audit in PSUs is conducted by C&AG, Supreme Audit Institutions, through various subordinate offices of Indian Audit and Accounts Department (IAAD). In conducting performance audit, the subordinate offices are guided by manual and auditing standards prescribed by CAG. Therefore, the objectives of performance auditing are evaluation of economy, efficiency, and effectiveness of the policies, programs, organization, and management. It also promotes accountability by assisting those charged with governance and oversight responsibilities to improve performance and transparency by affording taxpayers, those targeted by government policies and other stakeholders, an insight into the management and outcomes of different government activities. Performance auditing focuses on areas in which it can add value, which have the greatest potential for development. It provides constructive incentives for the responsible parties to take appropriate action. Regulations on audit and accounts issued by C&AG lay down the responsibility for the development of measurable objectives and performance indicators, as also the systems of measurement rest with the government departments or heads of entity. They are also required to define intermediate and final outputs and outcomes in measurable and monitorable terms, standardize the unit cost of delivery, and benchmark quality of outputs and outcomes. Thus, rejection of audit report submitted by the audit firm by C&AG is in order, as audit with a view to mere check all the expense of the units are in conformity to the public interest and publicly accepted customs done by the audit firm is not performance audit in all aspects. Next, test your knowledge. Question number 8. The objectives of audit in connection with a state electricity distribution company were to ascertain whether the total cost of providing electricity is being recovered by timely submissions to the State Electricity Regulatory Commission. Tariff orders, sales circulars, and sales instructions were issued timely without any ambiguity. They were implemented in time. Metering, billing, and collection was managed efficiently and effectively. Monitoring and internal controls were efficient. What kind of audit is referred to in the above scenario? Also, briefly discuss the steps suggested to the auditor for planning such an audit. In the given scenario, in view of the objectives discussed, performance audit is being referred. Steps suggested to the auditors for planning such an audit are following are the steps for planning performance audit: understanding the entity or program, defining the objectives and scope of the audit, determining audit criteria, deciding audit approach, developing audit questions, assessing audit team skills and whether outside expertise required, preparing audit design matrix ADM, establishing timetable and resources, intimation of audit program to audit entities, understanding the entities program. It is the starting point for planning individual performance audit. Sources of understanding the entity: documents of the entity, legislative documents, policy documents, academic or special research, past audits, media coverage, special focus groups. Next, defining the objectives and scope of the audit, determining audit criteria, deciding audit approach. Some of the methods which could be used in conducting performance audit includes analysis of procedures, surveys, case studies, analysis of results, use of existing data, quantitative analysis. Next, developing audit questions, assessing audit team skills and whether outside expertise is required, preparing audit design matrix ADM. A specimen of audit design matrix ADM is as under audit objective, audit questions, audit criteria, evidence, data collection and analysis method, establishing timetable and resources, intimation of audit program to audit entities. These are the steps involved in planning a performance audit. Performance audit illustration. The objectives of audit in connection with the state electricity distribution company were to ascertain whether the total cost of providing electricity is being recovered by timely submissions to the State Electricity Regulatory Commission, tariff orders, sales circulars, and sales instructions were issued timely without any ambiguity. They were implemented in time. Metering, billing, and collection was managed efficiently and effectively. Monitoring and internal controls were efficient. What kind of audit is this? Prepare two sample observations which could be a part of the audit report. This is a performance audit. Sample observations could be non replacement of defective or burnt meters. Large number of meters must be much in excess of permitted limit of 1% of the total meters were defective and their replacement was not completed within the stipulated time of 1 month. This resulted in billing on average basis for a continuous period of several months. This could result in losses as well as administrative hassles and disputes with consumers. Next, undercharging of meter rent. As per the schedule of charges, the company is required to charge meter rent of rupees 30 per month for a single phase meter and 40 per month for a three phase meter. It was observed that the company had short charged meter rent of rupees 60 lakhs from 3 lakh consumers in 5 lakh bills during the year. During the period,